Welcome to Shut Up and Ask, where no mortgage or real estate question goes unanswered. I'm Fernando Zilli. Now let's get into today's topic. Today's questions are more geared around down payment verification. And the number one question that we get all the time is, why can't I just give you a screenshot of my bank account? The money's sitting there, you can see it. So why does the lender need multiple statements showing all my transactions, all my withdrawals, all my deposits? Seems like it's overkill. To be honest, that's a great question, but let's break it down. The first thing you need to realize is the lender isn't specifically confirming that you have the money available. They're actually wanting to see more or less where the money came from. And effectively, that's where buyers get caught off guard. What exactly is down payment verification? Simply put, the lender wants to confirm three things. First, that you have enough money for the down payment. Second, that you have enough money for closing costs. And third, that the down payment meets lender requirements. Not all down payment sources are treated the same. You might say, why are not all down payment sources treated the same? It's money. I'm using it to buy a house. What's the difference? Down payment can come from multiple different sources. For example, it can come from savings, investments, RSPs, inheritance, sale of another property, gifted funds, and in some cases, even borrowed down payment from borrowed sources. The lender needs to know which of these sources is applicable in your situation so that the required documents can be obtained in order to meet federal and provincial anti-money laundering requirements. This partially explains why a screenshot just isn't enough. There isn't enough information other than to show, hey, there's money in this account. It might show the balance, but it doesn't show the history. And lenders are primarily focused on the history of those funds. Typically, they want to see those funds within your account for a 90-day period. If those funds have not been in your account for a 90-day period, then any deposits in your account that are over a specific amount will need to show the source. So if you transferred money from your savings to your checkings, they'll want to see that savings account for a period of 90 days. If you ended up having money come from your investments that went into your savings, then went into your checkings, I'll need to get a 90-day history of your checking account, 90-day history of your savings account, and a 90-day history of your investment account. As you can see, the more you move money around, the more complicated that this can get. The reason that 90-day history is used is because it's deemed to be a reasonable amount of time in order to source funds out. So essentially, if the money has been sitting in your account for a period of 90 days or so and hasn't been moving around, and you've just had some minor balance changes from, making purchases or an automatic transfer or selling something on Facebook Marketplace for a small amount, those things won't really impact or raise eyebrows. However, if you have a large deposit to the account, we are going to need to see that transaction history. The reality is that the majority of trouble we run into on down payment verification isn't the fact that large sums of money are being moved between accounts. It's actually obtaining the documentation which is satisfactory to the lender to verify that these funds are, one, that the funds are from a legitimate source, two, that the funds are actually from a usable source that is acceptable to the lender, and three, most lenders want to verify that these funds are from a usable source and are not specifically from borrowed funds unless that was disclosed and underwritten and approved to do so upfront. Now, what if my parents or immediate family member is assisting me with making a down payment on my purchase? How do I go about this? I won't be able to show the funds for 90 days because I don't have the money yet. That's a pretty fair question to ask. And the reality is that all we need is to see those funds deposited to your account. And we would also need to get a gift letter filled out. Now, a gift letter is a pretty simple document that we would provide to you, which will detail the amount of the gift, the day the gift was deposited. It'll confirm that the funds are not to be repaid and that they're exclusively given as a gift. And it will also dictate the relationship of the person who gifted you the funds in relation to you. Now, an immediate family member is classified as mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, brother, or sister. In some cases, aunts and uncles and some different family groups may be considered, but predominantly brother, sister, mother, father, grandma, grandpa are really the only verifiable and acceptable sources of down payment. Now, in some cases, you can have gifted funds from your spouse, but again, this is where we get into a little bit of a nuance where some lenders may accept it, some lenders will not, and this is really where a pre-approval really comes in handy and having all that information up front. So it is really important to tell us the source of the down payment if you know exactly where it's coming from, how much you have available, and who is giving it to you. One of the issues we have to verify sources of down payment, and this comes up all the time, is if you have your money sitting into a GIC, and let's say that GIC had actually matured and then got auto-deposited to your bank account. Once that GIC is closed, in many cases, it's very difficult to actually get a statement that shows the history of those funds. So let's assume you had a GIC and it expired last Friday, and those funds were deposited to your bank account. Now I have a bank account that showed a $10,000 GIC deposit to your account, within the last week. Because I need a 90-day history of those funds, the reality is I would also need to see those funds sitting in your GIC for that same 90-day period. Because the GIC is not currently active, you might find yourself in a position where you're unable to get that statement. This is where you might have to go into the branch, and it might take a little bit extra time in order to obtain that statement. Now, because down payment is a huge topic on our application, not only does it verify that you have sufficient funds to purchase the property, but there's also a bunch of federal and provincial guidelines and rules and regulations that we have to follow to make sure that those funds are going to meet guidelines. The reality is we are going to advise you not to move money around. And the reason is we want to simplify that documentation process for you. If your money is in a GIC, it's in an RSP, and some is in your checking account, some is in your TFSA, you're going to get gifted money from family, and you're about to do a pre-approval, don't do what everybody thinks they should do and put everything into one account. That is literally the worst thing you can do. Not so much for us. We're happy to review the documentation for you, but the reality is that you're just creating a nightmare for yourself, because now not only do you need to source out all of these bank statements and also show all the transactions, you're going to need to do that within a specific date range. My advice is anywhere that you have money that you intend to potentially use for down payment, provide 3 months of statements for those accounts, and then we'll advise you if any additional information is needed, and if money needs to be moved around, we'll advise you when to do that. Okay? If you're thinking about purchasing a property within the next 6 to 12 months and you're not registered for online banking, I would advise you to do that immediately and sign up for e-statements, because that is the easiest way that you're going to be able to obtain your statements when the time comes. Don't rely on going into the branch to provide statements and all that. One, it's a lot of driving around where you might need to provide multiple statements throughout the process, and just having access online is an easy way to just be able to upload those statements to our portal or to email them to us directly when needed. Now, before we wrap up, here's the biggest takeaway. The lender isn't verifying that you have money necessarily. They're verifying that the money is eligible to be used. The cleaner the paper trail, the smoother the process, and most down payment issues can be resolved far in advance of you even making an offer. We really want to simplify this process for you, so let's not make it hard on each other. If you're unsure whether your down payment meets lender requirements, shut up and ask. That's why this series exists. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.